Okay. And thank you everyone for joining us. My name is David Arnold. I'm one of the senior trainers here at Workamajig. Today's topic is going to be about the calendar in Workamajig. Okay. And so we have personal calendars, we have public calendars, and I'll show you how we kind of use that. And then again, we understand that most of you will probably be using Outlook or Google and those calendars, outside calendars. And so I'll also show you how we can set up subscriptions to those. We also have the traffic calendar, which is a way for you to provide timelines to your client. And that will also, why that's part of this conversation, is because we can calendarize it and you can have them subscribe to that calendar. Okay. Um, the other thing, a new feature that we've added in has been the PTO approval calendar. And so our event calendar, so approving your PTO, and we'll go ahead and I'll show you that as well. Okay. So let's get started. So the basics, right? So the basic is, obviously it's a calendar. It works just like any other calendar. For the most part, I'm coming in, I'm saying I need a new event. I'm putting in my subject. I'm setting up my time. Is it an all-day event? Does it repeat over time? Any description or notes that are involved. The difference may be that when I pick my calendar, I'm deciding which calendar does it belong to, mine, or is it going to be on a public calendar? And I'll show you that one. Some of the other things, of course, we can add attendees. When you add attendees, you can email them out and you get that email that will have the ICS file for them to add to their calendar, or it'll also be an approval or reject of that event as well. So that you'll email it, can you attend? Yes, I can attend. So that's all part of the system already. One of the things we also have is resources. Now, the resources is more along the lines of if you have conference rooms and things like that that you need to reserve, we can actually calendarize those needs. And so I need a projector in conference room 1 on the 23rd from 10 to 12. Again, that would just be adding those things into your meeting. And we would also see I'll show you in a second, where we can see that those things are being used and there's a conflict with them. Okay. And then any attachments that you may have. So again, setting up a simple meeting is just, I'm going to go ahead and go to the coffee team, right? So I had a meeting that I created earlier. It's just coffee with the team, 8:30 to 9:30. Okay. We're going to meet downstairs. My attendees are John and Bob and David. And I see that Bob and John both have a conflict, right? So it says attendees have a conflict. So that's telling me that there's some event in there that is, conflicting with these. And how do we know that it conflicts is basically we're looking at busy or free. So if you have busy or out of office markings in Workamajig, then we'll consider that as being, you can't schedule something over the top of it. And we'll go ahead and say, yes, there's a conflict. If it's marked to free, we think that's just a notification, an FYI type of meeting. And in that case, we would not display that there's a conflict. Once we do have a conflict, I can actually come into here and say find time, and it's actually going to show me the different days and where things match. So again, I can see here that, oh, there's a meeting coffee with the team and donuts with the boss, 9 to 9:30. So it's that overlap. But again, I would see an entire day worth of events, and I would be able to then either find a time automatically, or I can again kind of shuffle through different days to try and find a blank spot for all the attendees and change the event to that particular day. Okay. I think that's kind of, again, that's pretty typical calendar, features. I think most calendars do that. So again, we're not doing anything new or different. Okay. Now, some of the background stuff you can see over on the right-hand side that I have a number of calendars that I've made visible so that I need to interact with. And that setting is actually up here under the more and under display options. So there's a couple of things here. It's, what is it that I want to see? How do I want to see it? When's my normal start day? And then under calendars, I can create any number of personal calendars that I want. but we always have a default. So that default calendar is what will be used mostly in the system. So once it's marked as a default, then that's the nature of it, right? This is my default calendar. I can create new ones and make those the default. But again, we have that one by default. It can't be deleted. It's always going to be in the system. I can always rename it if I'd like to do that. Okay. I also have public calendars. Oh, sorry. Still within my own personal calendar. One of the things we also have is security wrapped around it. So security is basically who can deal with this calendar. So first off is usually just that can they view it, right? And we do this by security group. So the idea is, if I'm an account manager and I need my account managers to see mine or whatever, I can say my account manager can see my events. So they can click in, they would see my, John Arbuckle's calendar and that would show up potentially on their calendar to toggle on and off if they want to. Okay. There is another feature though. So, right. So, oh, sorry, clicking too fast. Let me go ahead and add account manager. We can also add people, right? So I just want a particular person that either is not part of this security group, right? Or I don't want the whole security group. I just want a certain person out of this group to be able to see and interact with my calendar. And so I'll go ahead and add those. And again, I see those sitting there and I go ahead and save that. When I come back into it, you'll see that the security group says view only. And what does that mean? That means that they can see it, right? That's really it. If I toggle this to the can edit, the idea of that one is if they can edit, that means they can go and add and remove calendar events from your calendar. Downside of this, they're acting just like you. So this is more for example, a secretary or something like that, somebody that needs control of your calendar. So they'll be able to see your calendar events and, change those. Like I said, the downside is you also get their calendar invites, right? Because we think you're going to act as them. And so obviously you have to know what their calendar is. And if you get an invite, can you accept that invite or not? Okay. Again, pretty straightforward. Again, we do that either by person or by security group, and you can decide, which ones would have access to that. And again, if it's view only, then that's all they're able to do. Just see it. Okay. And once you accept that, then again, I'll show you how we can add those new calendars that I can see from other people. Okay. And I'll go ahead and save that. Okay. I also see there's public calendars and then again, those resource calendars, if you remember, and there was more than just the conference room. So again, visible to me right now are only these few, but if I come up to the top, I can say select more. And this is the people that have made their calendars available to me. I can then say, oh yeah, I want to see Bryn's. I want to see the new calendar. For the public ones, I want to see the vacation one. And maybe for the conference rooms, I only ever deal with conference room one and projector one, that type of thing. These published ones, those are via the traffic calendar, and I'll show those as well coming up. So I'll just do that one for a second here. Okay. I'll show how we set up those. So once that's set up, okay, then I'm going to see those events sitting here, if that makes sense. So again, I can toggle on and off from these calendars to see their events. And sorry, these are kind of old, so there's not a lot of events on them. Okay. All right. So that is the basics of, using our calendar. Again, there's not really anything new or great or different. Okay. Some of the feature that we do have is, of course, if I create a meeting, okay, and for example, I have a client visit here, and in this case, it's an all-day event. It's on my calendar, and I blocked it out. This will have traffic consequences. So if I go to my staff schedule, okay, this is letting the team know, okay, I don't think I have any new ones. Hopefully this won't take too long. But the system will understand for trafficking reasons that I'm going to be out of the office. And so here's how we designate that I had an all day event and blocked out. We'll make this square yellow. That particular day will become gold or yellow, whatever color you want to call it. And again, we'll try and do is any assignments that have been given to me, we'll try and push aside. So even if you're not using our calendar as, your normal day-to-day calendar, that's okay. But we would recommend that you do put in your PTO stuff or your out of office, just because that will feed into into the staff schedule, so I can see that you're out of the office. Okay. And again, those will show up when I click into it. It'll show me that there's a meeting that's happening. Such as this. And then also, you'll need to have any holidays. Those are designated by, this is again, I believe it's Memorial Day. Sorry. So Memorial Day on the 27th. Again, that's going to block out the entire company. I'll show you how to create that one. And basically all schedules will jump over the top of that. Okay. So we would recommend that you do put those in. So again, your timelines can skip over that. In order to create that, let's go back to the calendar. And again, the Memorial Day one, it's just simply Memorial Day, right? I made it as busy all day. And I put it towards the public company meeting. And so the idea of the public company meeting is there's a setting that's basically, it's, blocking out company time. Okay. Okay. Any questions on those basics? Again, if you have any questions into the Q&A, I know that's really super basic. Okay. All right. So the next thing we can do is I may be using a different calendaring system. Okay. And we can actually use that to copy my events out. So if I go to, or subscribe to it. So if I go to more and I go to my, again, display options, and I go to my default calendar, there's going to be this share URL. Okay. And so I'll go ahead and copy this URL out. Okay. And then I can go into my Google. I'm going to be using Google today. And I just come into Google and say, I'm going to add a new calendar. It's from a URL. I'm going to paste that URL into there. And I'm going to go ahead and add that calendar. Okay. And you see that it actually comes through as being default, right? It will either start out being a URL, it'll actually display the URL, but in refresh, it'll actually use the name of the calendar. So this will be the same thing in Workamajig called default. So now when I go back to the calendar, you see I have coffee with the team, donuts, and the client visit, as well as the Memorial Day one is also in there. Does that make sense? Okay. So just to give you a heads up for these subscription ones, okay, that is really under Google and Microsoft's prerogative as to how often they sync. I usually say it's usually every 6 to 8 hours, so usually 2, 3, 4 times a day, depending, just depending on when you set it up. And again, so not again. Um, so again, it's not going to be instantaneous as far as that goes. But again, we always figure you're not doing everything for today. Today's already done. It's stuff for tomorrow. So again, that's what we're kind of looking towards. And usually by that time, a single sync has done it. So like I said, it's kind of a balance we're trying to do with Google and Microsoft to make sure that that link isn't broken just because we're tagging it too much. So again, it's usually about 6. It's not an instantaneous synchronization of the calendars. Okay. But we can force it. Don't do this a lot, because again, they'll shut us down. If you go to default, you'll see that there is a refresh. Oh, probably in this one. Oh, if I subscribe to it, sorry, there is. So in this way, out, sorry, that out, there's that way. If I subscribe to it, it's going to be different. I'm going to show you a subscription back into Workamajig actually in a second. But there is a way for us to take your Google Calendar and subscribe to that. And again, then I can refresh that link as well. Okay. But right now I'm talking about out. So again, that it's going to, Google's going to make the call to pull my calendar events out. If you schedule something on a public company meeting, do you need to invite any individuals to that event or will it automatically apply across your team? That's a great question. So what's the idea of the public calendar? Usually we see public calendars as being, you know, everybody can see it. If I can attend the meeting, I'll attend the meeting. If not, I won't. Okay. But we do have a setting in those public calendars. One is public company meeting, for example, and it says block out attendees only. So when I do a public company meeting one, and I have, so this would be like all of my Memorial Days, all the holidays, things like that. I don't want block out attendees only. I'm going to leave that unchecked. So that make sure that somebody doesn't put their vacation time against this one, because otherwise what would happen? You just gave everybody the vacation because again, anybody, can I put attendees on here? Yes. Do you need to? No. Okay. But again, there's always that, if I'm an attendee, it'll kind of block out my information, but not others. Okay. But I would recommend that you have that one more as, you know, there's the one that tracks your public events like Memorial Day or client visits. Again, usually you don't have an attendee. Something like the vacation calendar that we'll talk about in a bit is I do say block out attendees only. So the idea of this one is I'm actually going to put an event on for me. I want it to be public so it shows up under, you know, so everybody can see the vacation, right? But then it also is going to go to my calendar and block me out for that. Okay. Does that make sense? So that's the way we would control it. It's that block out attendees only. That would be more like the vacation or PTO type of calendar event. Usually the company meetings are more an FYI. You can put attendees only, but be wary of that block out because then everybody would be blocked out during that time period since it doesn't have the block out attendees only. Okay. All right. Right. So then we have that subscription out, right? And again, that's basically adding that to your, uh, you know, again, just adding that subscription. There's my default other one, and that comes across. We also have the other way. So you see that I have some events here on this calendar here. Um, each one is a little bit different. Again, I'm just going to do Google, sorry. If I come into, so this one, it says for Workamajig. So you can see that there's 3 events for Workamajig. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and say, go to the settings and sharing. And under the calendar sharing, there's a setting, it's the secret address in iCal format. This is what we need. Okay. If you do not see this, this is a setting in your G Suite to allow for this. Okay. So if you don't see it, talk to your admin. In Outlook, again, sometimes they allow this type. We don't need the secret one. In that case, it's just the calendar, you know, URL, and that's usually enough. But in Google, we do need the secret one, and I just simply copy that one to the clipboard. Okay, and it gives me a little warning. And again, go back into Workamajig here. Oh, go back into Workamajig, and I can come here and I can say create a new personal calendar. And in this one, I'm going to go ahead and name this. And so I'm just going to call this Google. Okay. I'm going to subscribe to it. And this will be a read-only subscription. And so I'm going to go ahead and paste that in. Now I have some choices on here when I'm subscribing to an external calendar. Okay. So do I want to see everything that came across? This is if you have, you know, brand new to opening it up. For the most part, we're just looking at about 6 months on either side. But again, if you have a ton of stuff, then you may want to limit that to like the past 6 months. Okay. So it's not trying to grab everything from 2022, right? The next one is block out meetings. So we have not blocked out. So all meetings that come across will not be considered blocked out. Or we have the setting only block out if it's busy. So if on the meeting it says busy or out of office, we'll see that as being busy. If it says free, we will not see, we'll see that as free. And again, the staff schedule will act accordingly. Okay. Then we have some, one for 365. Okay. That's the out of office one. And then all blocked out. So again, every meeting that comes across will be considered block out. Okay. The most common one I'm going to see is usually we say use the only block out. Okay. Make sure that your time zone is set to the proper one, right? So they match what your time zone is, so it doesn't get all messed up. We have another feature called parse description for project and task. So if in your other calendar, and I can go back to that one, okay? Let me get back to this one. Okay, so I have one that says, let's see, talk to the team. I think it was this one, PTO David. Okay, that one. Okay. What I do is I have a project number, okay, a pipe, and then the task ID. And so the system is going to read this and allow me to see that meeting and actually put time in against this event. Okay. So again, project number and task number. And then again, whatever description, that doesn't matter, but that's the parsing and that's what it's looking for. Just let you know. Okay. I'll go ahead and save that one and minimize that back up. And so here we go. So I'm going to say, when I'm subscribing to this, yes, go ahead and parse out the task. And again, we show you how to do that. Again, it's that project number and the task ID. Oh, did I forget to put that into square brackets? Sorry. No, I forgot something. Back to the PTO. Got to put that into a single square bracket. Okay. So square bracket, project number, pipe, task ID, okay, and then a closing square bracket, and I'll go ahead and save that one, okay. And so now when I save that, get back into Workamajig, and so again, any questions on that setting? I think we're okay. The security, again, some more security that I'm setting. Who else can see this? Again, I may do, a few of my other locations. They need to see this particular one. So I'm going to go ahead and add that selected and go ahead and save that. Okay. And that came across. So you can see that immediately in the first time it does this. And again, this is one of those that it definitely, this is doing all that, the 6-8 type of thing for its syncing. So basically when I set this up, that's the anniversary time and that's the way it will work. Okay. I can come into this and you'll see that it has this refresh the feed. Okay. Refresh the feed. Again, I can click this any number of times. But again, if we hit it too many times, Google's going to say, oh, DNS attack. So again, it may block the sync for the rest of the day. We have seen that it does come back up, but again, that's the way to get these syncs or the subscriptions from Google and Microsoft to update. Okay. Okay. Now, what did that addition of the project number do for me? Again, when I click into the project, it's a read only. Well, must not have gotten that quite right. That should have, sorry about that, guys. Always when in a demo does it. This should have, oh, I know it was inactive. So this would catch that PTO project. Sorry, it didn't catch it, and I know I've done this on other ones. So it's an inactive status. So that's why it didn't show up. But again, it picks up the project, picks up the task. If you have a default service, that service would be there. And so all you have to actually do is hit save because this will be an all day. It would put 8 hours towards my timesheet. If this was a meeting, a project meeting again, that had this information in again, and it was only for an hour, again, it would have an hour sitting here and all I'd have to do is hit save and that time entry would be saved for me. Okay. That takes a little setup. Again, it has the project and the task are active, allows time entry. The service, I have a default service, although I can select any other ones and go from there. Okay. If I need to change the time on the date on that, if I wanted to, I could do that. And again, any other comments. Okay. And again, I can see these usually, these public type events, if I do go to my Today Creative and I start to toggle through some of the days. You can see that there's my meetings with clients over on the right-hand side. And again, talk to the team. If I click into this also, again, if these had project numbers associated with them, those project number and task would be set up here and I'd be able to deal with them. Make sense? Okay. All right. So that kind of showed us again just the basic calendars. How do I get you know, so how do I basically put in events? Pretty straightforward. How do I see other calendars? How do I subscribe to external calendars? How do I, from the external calendar, how do I subscribe to that? Okay. Now, of course, the reason that we want these meetings in is, of course, that they show up into my staff schedule, right? So as I get more meetings, add meetings, I'm on vacation. Like I said, they're going to show up here, and I can see uh, what are they out of the office or not? So you can see that one came across and is now said that I'm going to be out of the office on the 16th, right? Even though I subscribed to it, it still came in to there and showed that I was out of the office. Okay. And like I said, if I had any assignments that were perhaps on the 16th, what it'll try and do is push those assignments aside from my, my workload if it can. If it can't, it stays in here and I'm going to see a number greater than 8 in here. So that would mean, oh, what is that? So I click into it, find out what it is, and probably reassign it. Okay. But if it's for another day or whatnot, again, we'll push those hours off. Okay, if it can. All right. All right. So the next thing we'd want to look at that involves the calendar is we do have PTO approval. Okay. So I wanted to show you that setup. This is a new feature that came out, I believe, last month. Still a little bit in beta. So there is some setup. So the idea is that I can put it against a certain calendar. So again, if I come into here and I say, okay, I want PTO, and I usually recommend people, put in PTO or OOO in your name because again, it's going to go to a public calendar, right? So they can tell what it is. It's going to be an all-day event. Uh, the meeting is going to be block out. I'm going to pick the calendar and I'm going to pick vacation. Okay. And when I pick vacation, you'll notice that I get this submit button. Okay. So this is looking to my employee record. I'll show you that in a sec. It goes to my employee record, sees who's my approver, and that will go to that approver and says, yes, it's approved or it's not approved, whichever the case may be. Okay. So I set myself up as that. And let me go ahead and duplicate this tab. And I'll show you where that setup is. And then we'll go through the workflow. Okay. So First, first part of the workflow and the setup is I'm coming to system setup. Okay. And I'm going to contact management and we have meeting types. Okay. In the meeting types, we are able to define, do I use an approval process or not? Okay. So that we can do other things with meeting types. Again, there may be custom fields that I want to appear, right? So again, I have a custom field that if I use this, there'll be other fields on the meeting that I can fill in. Okay. And again, you can do that for any of the meetings, right? This is created just like custom fields or spec sheets, right? They all use this same kind of workflow of create the field, add it into the layout, and it'll be sitting there on the meeting when I create it. Okay. But I said, use the approval process. Now, this is a very simple approval process. It only goes to one person. Okay. So once I have that set up, it's actually on the employee that I come to, John. Okay. And under accounting, this is where we have the approvals and we'll have a new field saying meeting approver. Okay. And so whoever is their meeting approver, that's who it will get sent to. There's not a routing functionality at all. It just goes to whoever that is set up here. Okay. Now it does go to the backup in case you're out of the office, but for the most part, it is only going to this meeting approver. Okay. So with this new meeting, I'm going to go ahead and, yep, it's going to get blocked out, right? Because it's me and it's on the vacation. The vacation calendar is also set up to block out attendees only. And I'll go ahead and save that. Sorry. I'm going to go ahead and submit that. Sorry, submit it. Okay. And it goes out. And so now those are actually out to John Arbuckle. And so how is John seeing these? So if I go to the display option, sorry, I'm kind of using the same person here. Okay. Under these, there should be, is that? Okay, just a second. Why am I not getting that? I think it already got approved. Sorry. Let me set up. Sorry about that, guys. Let me go ahead and okay, and back to the calendar, and I'll create a new one. Bren. I'm doing it as them. Driving me crazy. Okay. So what we'll start to see is actually this one for Bryn. So this is a part of the process. So it says it's not submitted, but that's actually an event that's been, it's sitting in, unfortunately, I'm not with the, if I was in Bryn, I can submit that. It's then going to be underneath the notifications. And let me, sorry, guys. Okay. So here I am in as Bryn, sorry, sitting on my calendar. And so then I can click into this and I'll go ahead and submit this one. So Bryn would have done this, submitted that over. Okay. Sorry about that. And then over on my notification, refresh this one out. Okay. I'm going to now see that I have this event saying that's been submitted for approval. Okay. So then the approver can either click into here onto the event and approve or reject it. Okay. It will also be under the bell as a meeting to approve. Should have been in there. We have to log out, log in. Not sure why that's not clipping it. Okay. Now this event, so the meetings to approve, this is an automatic calendar. If you're set up as an approver, it'll automatically start to appear once things are sent to you. So the idea is that once you grab it, you can then approve it. And once it's approved, it kind of drops off, but then it appears. So if I deselect that, you see that it's dropped off, but that event on on this vacation calendar, that's where it ends up. Does that make sense? Okay. From the Brin standpoint over here, that is automatically refreshed. And again, it just becomes this event that's sitting on Brin's calendar. That makes sense? Okay. Sorry, that was a little hodgepodge. So the idea was that Bren says, I need time off. Again, just, PTO, picks the day that needs off, 23rd. It's an all day event, right? And put it towards oh, forgot to add her to that calendar. Dang gummit. Once again, always in training, forget to set things up. Let's see here. Sorry, and the setting up for this one is always that everybody usually can edit on the event. Okay. So I just don't remember which one she was in. Okay. Oh, okay. Again, set the date, all day event, setting it for the calendar. Then she gets gets the submit, right? Again, if I set up the project that this should go towards, which might be that PTO project, right? Again, I didn't have that one active, so that's why it's not showing up. But yeah, if I set it up to a project and a task, again, then that will have that time entry available for me as well. So that gets submitted. That goes out from me. It's saying it's submitted. From my approver standpoint, it's showing me that that calendar is saying there's something that's been submitted to me. I go ahead and click onto it to open it up. And again, I'll be able to, okay. Yeah, I know that's been submitted. Okay. Okay. Oh, sorry, I was clicking on the wrong one. Okay. And so again, that one comes through, able to click onto it and again, review it and then go ahead and approve it. Okay. All right. Our next one. Okay. So that's kind of the general around the calendar. So again, sorry a little for the PTO approval process. Again, there's the setting on the meeting type. You just say, I want to use the approval process, and then you set up the approver, and then on that calendar, and usually the calendar, everybody would be able to edit events on that. But again, that's all it's doing. It's just that they can put an event onto it and then submit it. And then whoever it's sent to, they're going to be visible, to that person for them to approve. Once it's approved, then it becomes an event. And with them, because of the nature of that calendar, it would be on my personal plus the public calendar. Okay. The next use of calendar, and this is more for syncing out, is our traffic calendar. So under Resource Manager, Traffic Calendar, we often get people asking, "Hey, again, I'm sending out something to the client to show their either the tasks that are assigned to them. It could be, again, the approval steps, any number of things that we show them a timeline, and so we're able in the traffic calendar. I'll just kind of go through this again, set up certain filters, and we can set it obviously for a particular client. We can even set it for a particular project, although I wouldn't recommend doing it for a project because the idea is we're going to allow your client to subscribe to this. But one of the things that we will do is say, again, maybe shorten it up. So I only want things that are in progress, maybe this month, right? So I'm going to get a month view. And so as we go from month to month, of course, their calendar will change based upon the schedule that you have. Okay. There are some settings on the tasks, and I'll go ahead and just do a search on this one. Okay. And so here's my tasks that are showing up, right? Based upon that simple search. On the schedule itself and on the task, there's this setting that says hide from clients. And so the idea is if I don't want them to see photography, I can check that box. And so that would be excluded from this timeline for them, right? So that's one of this that says visible to client. So only show me tasks that are visible to the client. That makes sense? Okay. So you can see all of the different filters I can put in for them. But the idea is I can get that one specifically for them. Okay. And so once again, I'll go ahead and do a search, and then I can do this calendar. And then on the calendar, I can say, well, what's going to show, right? So do I want to show the entire thing? Do I want to show just the end dates? And I'll show you that here, where we can select here. And I can set it up to say, what is it that I want to include on that calendar when it appears? Okay. So do I want to show the projects? Do I want the detailed tasks only? Do I want the summaries in? Do I just want to show the end dates? Do I need the project names and project numbers? So you can kind of toggle around these and refresh it. But the important part is this one right here, right? This is my share calendar. So I have this one set up when come out. It says projects for a client. You see, so it's basically that simple. You can see how I have different filters depending on which one it is. This only wants to see production. This one has some different tasks in it, things like that. So again, whatever the filters are, we basically publish that calendar and it's available here so that then the client can come in and you send them that note, and I can come in and say, okay, show me this from URL, and I paste in that URL and add the calendar. Okay. And you can see there it is, projects by client. And again, that may show the URL first, but then it shows up. And when I come back in, it's showing me that. So what does the client need to do now? Nothing. As you add or remove projects from that, it will continue to work. It works off of those filters and will continue to show the clients the items that they want. So again, the setup on this is always back in, you know, more here in the project itself. When we're selecting the and on your templates, you will probably want to set up, well, there's certain tasks I just don't want the client to see. I don't want them to see this, but I want them to see outside services, for example, right? So again, it's what do I hide from the client or show to the client? If you preset that up, then again, you no longer need to go, okay, let me print this. And I want to print the chart, you know, print the Gantt chart, or I want a client facing view, that type of thing. It's already done for you. Again, give them the URL and they can subscribe to it, and any updates will automatically update to them. Okay. And again, it's the same thing. Who is it visible to? So you just want to make sure. Again, I think we do this. It's just security group. But again, you want to make sure that they're in a particular security group. So again, I could just make this available only to the clients, and of course it'd be account managers. But again, so if they can see it, they have this link. They're on the project team. That's still needed, right? So if I have a bunch of projects for that client and they're only on one of them, right? Well, I don't have one which has double, but if I had, you know, two projects for a big media company and that person is not on that calendar, right, or is not on that project, then they would not see this project. So it still adheres to that kind of concept. Okay. Make sense? All right. So also when I published this one, again, we saw that earlier, you know, in my own calendar, I can do the same thing, right? I can display that if I don't have, that's where I have those published calendars, remember? So any of the published calendars, I can also view in mine. So when I come to the projects by client, again, it's going to start feeding in those events that go along with that. Did I not check that? I deselected everything. No. What did I just break? Okay. Every time I do it, right? I must have deselected something off of there. Okay, sorry about that. But again, those will all be visible when you pick those to add to your calendar to see, again, by AE, by Bubba, again, just bringing in a number of those. And again, those events will start to appear. And there we go. So again, that's a different one. But again, they start to show up here just in your normal calendar. And you can toggle on and off from those if you need to. Okay. Make sense? All right. And that is kind of, again, the Workamajig calendar and the way you can use it. Again, if it is, Workamajig is your base calendar. There's ways to get your events out, and you can use it just like any normal calendar, sending out invites. They can reply to them. Those will come back in and say that, yes, they're going to attend. Emails can be sent out regarding those. ICS links or files would also be a part of that, so they can add it to their calendar. Okay. If Outlook or some other calendar system is your primary, we do have the ability to subscribe to that calendar. So again, bringing it in, whether I bring it in as public or private, just a fair warning. So if it's private, of course, then everything is your meeting and that works, right? But if you're trying to do a public one, like, oh, we have this public PTO one. Okay, a public one is everybody and nobody, if that makes sense. So if I brought in this event that says PTO Bryn, well, it's not associated to Bryn. It's only associated to whoever did the event and synced it across. Does that make sense? So it would not be good to expect that this PTO public calendar from Outlook would sync across into Workamajig and say, okay, this is Bryn out and David out and so on and so forth. Okay. But it's still a good FYI. Hey, these people are out. Okay. But we most likely for those, again, we recommend that you do your own calendar, right? So bring over your private calendar to get those PTO events out, okay, into the system, and then would be available for traffic. Okay. Okay. So the question is, again, the vacation calendar that I'm showing you, this is just a calendar that I created. So again, I can create any number of public calendars. I just named it vacation. Okay. It's just, what can this vacation do? Okay. So to begin with, it's usually, for this one, it's going to be vacation or whatever you want to name it. I have it block out attendees only. And then again, who can put, events in against this calendar. Okay. The added feature was in the approval process where I need to set up my meeting type to say this meeting type will go ahead, and when I have it set, then it's going to put in a process where I can submit my event for approval. Okay. And on any meeting, whenever I set it to that, okay, again, if I come in here, that's on the wrong one. Just set up a new one. Is when I set up that and I say vacation. If you remember, I had set up a custom field on it as well. And so again, now that custom field is now visible for me to fill in. So in case you have other things that you want to collect when it's a vacation type of thing. Okay. And yeah, it's usually the public calendars is, and you have to have a security right to create public calendars. Okay. So it's usually your admins that would be doing that. Okay. Again, you can name this whatever you'd like, right? When I created that calendar, it's really whatever you'd like to name it. Okay. Anything else? Okay. And that's really, again, creating the meetings of in Workamajig. Again, why we want meetings in Workamajig to begin with is really for trafficking, right? We want to know not only what is your workload, but also what are you doing, right? Are you out of the office? Do you have meetings with clients and things that are also part of the workload for that day? Again, so we don't book you for, 12, 14 hours in the day. We can kind of balance that out. Okay. And if you have any questions, of course, send us a note at support@workamajig.com. If there are no more questions, I know this was kind of a basic walkthrough, but if you have any further questions, support@workamajig.com, and we'd be happy to answer those for you. Otherwise, thank you guys very much for attending. Truly appreciated. And stay tuned for our next webinar later this month. Thanks and have a great rest of the day.